shoved together, those different situations we can kind of feel a little bit different. And there's different people that you want in certain zones and certain people. So if you're standing away from somebody else, it will definitely communicate, I need you to be, I'm not comfortable with you being so close to me. You also, if you're interested, the more you like a person, the more likely you are to let them into your closer, intimate zone. So if you like a person, you sit closer to them and you sit close to them, it non-verbally communicates, I like you. If you're sitting across the room from them, they're like, what's that like me? Right? So when we're looking at this, each culture has a different idea of what's considered appropriate. So again, these are American, the way to remember these, intimate, personal, social, and public. Those 4 movements. Intimate, close, personal, thumb in the air, social, those around you, and public is everybody else. Okay? You might be tested on this on Wednesday.
What up?
So you have to know the spacing as well, okay?
Personal.
Different cultures see these boundaries in different ways. European Americans, their intimate zone, they're comfortable in a conversation just beyond our arm. Okay, so I'm 5'8", so you take, you know that from tip to tip is the same as your height? You all know that, right?
Mine is taller than my height.
Is it? You have really long arms, huh?
My dad's like, one was like 7 foot and he was 6'6". So
You have big wingspan. You can fly better. Fly better. Latin Americans are definitely closer.
Oh yeah,
Do you ever feel like, get out of my space?
I bet.
Well, we all have our things, don't we? And Saudi Arabians, this might be seen as interesting. This, of course, though, is male, male, female to female. Males have to be close enough to feel your breath on their face. Again, it's if you see what they're comfortable to them being close, even touching and holding hands, being connected physically is a sign of trust. So you got to understand what different cultures see as appropriate and go with these different boundaries. So the safe thing is to do is keep a further boundary and then see how it goes. But y'all know space invaders, right?
Yeah.
They're ones that keep moving, and next thing you're like, damn it, I'm in a corner, and they're like right here.
That's why you go in a circle away from them.
Yeah.
like this.
Okay, that's nonverbal signs saying control, right? Stop. Stop in the name
Okay.
Bro, COVID
Okay,
is the best.
continue.
Like, you like, it could be like, no, 5 feet, back up.
Everybody perform.
Yeah, right.
Okay.
So when President Bush met the Saudi Arabian royalty,
Oh my God, we're kissing.
they kissed on the cheek,
Right?
they held hands, because that was what was appropriate.
That does not look like the cheekies.
And some people will say, well, was it appropriate for Bush or was it appropriate for the prince?
The
It was
prince.
for the prince, but the prince was a guest. This happened at the White House. So you act the way your guest would be comfortable. Yes.
Holding hands.
Yeah. This is totally different kind of space. We got to see the current administration attempting to understand cultural differences. My opinion. All right, interpersonal boundaries while expressing respect or deference.
What
So-
is difference?
Deference is deferring to someone else, so you would let somebody else step forward and take prominent position. So if I am speaking and I'm introducing somebody else, right? I know that if I'm standing there and say, I wanna introduce you to this wonderful speaker, blah, 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 I will then stand away and create distance and deference so that person is in the spotlight. It's not about me, it's about them.
Okay.
So it's a sign of respect as well.
Okay.
Interpersonal boundaries, when we're looking at expressing respect, it would be, let's say the soldiers that are outside of Buckingham Palace, right? And they stand there with their little furry top hats on and the whole thing, but you're supposed to stay away from them. You're not supposed to come up and touch them. You have to keep a certain level of distance as a sign of respect. If it were a dignitary that comes in the room, you don't run up and go, hey, and try to give them a hug.
That's how you get shot.
Right, that's how you get shot, right? So cultural norms and rules, meanings, and appropriateness are very, very important. This was a huge controversy at the time. This is President Obama bowing to the emperor. They have a new female prime minister of Japan, but the emperor is still there. But the problem is, number one, you don't shake and bow at the same time. It's one or the other. And it's the depth of the bow that everyone had an issue with. The deeper the bow, the more respect and deference, saying the other person is more important than you. So he went too low, but the guy's short and Obama was tall, so it might look like he was bowing too short, okay? So in Japan, the rules are the men bow with their hands to the side, women with their hands on the front. And it depends on how deep you go, right? So just a head bow is someone you know, someone you are comfortable with, it would be this. Someone who you know a little bit more would be a little bit deeper. A extreme bow is someone of very high rank, someone who deserves a high amount of respect. So the actual degree of the bow and the way you do it means something different. So when people read this, number one, it was done incorrectly. Number two, the depth of the bow meant that he was saying that this Japanese emperor was more important than he was, and showing that level of deference. So he tried, but didn't succeed completely, okay? So interpersonal boundaries are how we manipulate our space and what we have as our bubble around us when we're interacting with other people. Because there are norms, there's rules, who shakes hands, who fist bumps, who kisses, who bows. There are certain countries that you don't bow, but you handshake, you don't make eye contact, whatever it could be, because they mean different things. And if you do it correctly or not, it will mean something based on our communicator competency. Environmental boundaries are another nonverbal way of communicating space. So this will show our community. If people are, it was very interesting when I was in Cusco, Peru, outside of Machu Picchu. They told that, it was a very compact city, and they said that the poor people live on the top of the hill, which is completely different than here, right? It's all the rich people up on the hill. Why? Because they had to walk and carry things up the hill. And if there's slides or any kind of flooding, their houses would go down first. Also, when we were in Lima, there was a shanty town that actually became its own community. That they built schools, there was a store, there was infrastructure that just kind of built out from nothing. From people not being able to live in the other parts of the city, they became their own city. So it was very interesting to see how people create community and their own boundaries, and you knew when you were going to this area compared to another area, right? People that are in a city versus like New York, those that ring Central Park, they're gonna pay more money, they're obviously a status symbol, right? What areas you live and what that means. Those are all environmental boundaries that non-verbally communicate something. So some of these things signify different in culture, religion, ethnicity, language, social interaction. We have different types where we are looking at different environmental boundaries. For example, the Amish. They are distinguished, their religion, their language, their technology, their fashion. So this is a group originally from Europe. Have you heard of the Amish?
Yeah.
Okay. So they came over and they're mostly in Pennsylvania, correct? Pennsylvania Dutch. So they live their life with no technology. They don't even have buttons because those have to be manufactured. Everything's a very community based. When they need to build something or have any kind of celebration, it's very much about community. So they non-verbally, from what they wear to what they do, express who they are. Religiously, those that are wearing any kind of burqa, women, or even if they just wear the hijab, any kind of head covering, they're signifying non-verbally their environment, right? And their non-verbal belief. So if a woman is wearing a burqa that covers completely, is it a burqa that covers completely? I think I'm using the right terms. That only shows the eyes. That is a boundary of her own, part of her environment, to say, respect my modesty. Same with the hijab, wearing any kind of head covering.
You mean hijab?
Hijab, yes. Hijab,
Hijab.
whatever it is, pronounced both ways. Okay, so it's
Hijab.
a way that we, even through fashion, kind of say that this is our area, these are our beliefs, this is the way we do something, and we're non-verbally communicating that to others.
I have a question.
Yeah.
In that study guide, with access to define environmental boundary, should we use the first one?
Mhm.
The first?
Difference in culture, religion, ethnicity, language, social interaction. So,
Not the claim sense of space? It wouldn't be that. Based on this.
that's kind of part of the personal one as well.
Okay.
Yeah, well, both of them together. So claim sense is space and emotional attachment, it creates community, and then this is how the community is seen. Is one leads into the next. Psychological boundaries is kind of our need for privacy. If you're sitting there by yourself, meditative, or just being by, you all run around with those little things hanging out of your ears.
Oh, AirPods. That's meant my earrings.
Is that not saying, I don't wanna talk to anybody?
Yeah, people still talk to you.
Yeah.
Oh my god, I
People
know.
with hold headphones on and they're like, excuse me. Like, they do
I'm
that.
in an airport, obviously watching something on my phone with it, and a woman starts talking to me, I'm like, what? She wasn't even on my plane, you were just sitting in the terminal. I'm like, what are you doing? I must have a talk to me unfriendly look to me, I don't know.
Oh my god, yeah, I hate having that. Fix
So-
it, please.
Right,
Yeah, no, yeah.
definitely.
Lord forbid somebody wants to make a friend, have some social interaction sometimes, like I know.
You don't think I didn't talk to her for the next 25 minutes?
So believe that you did because that's better than
But
you are.
I used to talk to everybody on the plane, now you get on the plane, you don't talk to anybody. Everyone's in their own little
I don't know
intrapersonal
what's going
space,
on, but
right?
I always make a conversation whether they want to listen or not.
You're the type I would avoid sitting next to. Alright, privacy regulation. Individualistic cultures like their privacy. This is when children are raised in their own rooms, having your own room, your own space, your own car, whatever the privacy regulation, you're not necessarily going to want to share things with others because we like our own space, yeah,
We're not raised like that.
okay?
Until, as for Asian parents, they like big family in a household. And, sometimes they don't get enough room for each and every one of us. So I grew up sharing a room with my sister. And then, and for, I don't know about you here, but I heard that as soon as you, here in America, as soon as you turn 18, people wants to be independent and live on their own, but not for Asian people, even until they get married. and have children in that
There-
same household.
One of my my Chinese friends, Shadow Jeff, he was in his mid-30s, still living with his parents. And I said, why don't you have your own apartment? And he says, why? Then I'm spending money and they're spending money and we're wasting money that I'm gonna get eventually. So we share food. And he goes, even if I were to get married, we would still go over there for meals and share food, just because it doesn't make sense to not have it that way.
And you know, if you in Asian people concept, if you take care of your parents, even though they're old, and you didn't send them to the, what do you call it, the old housing thing,
The
Care-
the
the
care
whatever.
facilities. Yeah.
and then that means you're a good daughter or a son. But here in America, if you don't do that, that means you're a bad daughter or a bad son. I
No,
mean,
it just means you're a realist. My mother-in-law is in a care facility. She doesn't remember I was there. She was having problems the other day. She goes, oh yeah, it's my period. I'm like, you're 88 years old, really? So her mind's gone. I cannot take care of that. So she can afford it. She's in a care facility where they can take care of that.
but you know,
So,
again,
yeah.
different
No,
countries.
the mindset
Yeah.
of care is
Yeah.
definitely different as well.
Yeah.
So, yeah. Privacy is not perceived as critical and collectivistic. There's also, this is nonverbal, right? So shared spaces, even in Japan, the room space, Native American, when they were in a common living area, you have all the families would be right next to each other, sleeping and living. It was a shared space. So being separated just didn't make sense, and privacy regulation is different, okay? We also understand when it comes to psychological boundaries, this feng shui, air, water. Is anyone into and tries to embrace feng shui? This one is so not in any way. It's all about room placement, colors, how you have things like, Hiromi didn't like that her bed faced a mirror. You can't have a bed facing a mirror. We were trying to sell a house, but the staircase pointed towards the front door. So certain people would not be interested because the staircase faced the front door. Because then your luck is going out the door. So feng shui is something that it's combining elements to obtain energy in a room. And understanding how different people worldwide, they will consult to find out, how do I control my boundaries? How do I make it so that when I'm in this space, that I have a positive feeling and good energy flow? That means including plants, that includes water treatments or different placements, color use, etc. You can even arrange a room to show power. So if I have say this is my office, and you walk in and I have my desk and I'm behind my desk, this is a sign of power. You can't get to me. But if I had that the door's over there and my desk is here, that's less power, but you can see me. The least amount of power is if the door's over here behind me, you walk in and my back's to the door. So how you arrange your office, you would also often see large spaces, right? The bigger houses, the bigger cars. Someone was in a stretch limo and they're by themselves. It's like, right? Because taking up space is one of those nonverbal things saying, I have space. I'm taking up this space. So it's from a limo compared to a little tiny Prius or something, right? So it means something differently as we nonverbal communicate that. All right. This one would have been good for those that have a hard time showing up, but regulating time. They're called chronemics. Chrono has anything to do with time. They have different ways of structuring, using time, and understanding time. So we have different cultural patterns, different ways a group, when you start the day, when you eat, We were talking about how, oh yeah, you don't go out until midnight to start partying that night, right? In Spain, dinner is at 10 o'clock at night. Other places it's regimented. This is done this time, this is done this time, this is done that time. Even understanding the passage of time through reincarnation. How will your time be spent here, and if you will come again and try again to reach nirvana, right? So everything is surrounded by time. Certain cultures really look at time as a large factor of how they communicate, how they interact with others, and what they do. It's not running out there, is it?
Yeah.
They're having a party.
I'm like, hello?
Is that you ready to get checked?
The constant.
But you said to talk to anybody, so I wouldn't.
I will talk to anybody, but I'm like, what do you about? Like, that's me telling the world.
Okay, so 2 patterns. The first is mono, meaning one, monochronic time schedules. These are in a very linear way of doing it, and every time is allotted to concentrate on one thing at a time. It would be very structured. At this time you do this, at this time you do this, at this time you do this. Very much an individualistic cultural pattern. It means you start on time. There's no late. It comes down to understanding that early is on time is late, and late
Late
is
is unacceptable.
unacceptable.
Bring that.
Like
Me
me
too.
that always wants to start 11:30, but y'all roll in at any time.
Things happen.
Mm.
I know.
No, I actually wasn't gonna be on time today. I was on the bus stop at the right time, and the bus just never came. I had to wait for the next one.
That's
So-
how it goes.
I got scammed.
Okay, think of Swiss and German. They're very much time oriented. Everything is set to a certain time. The trains run on time. Everything's done on time. Okay? It's let's concentrate on this one thing at a time and then move on to the next. Now, for some, this is definitely not the culture in which you were raised. Okay? German family, trust me, dinner is it's still at 6. That's just the way it happens, right? So everything is about time, you concentrate on one thing before you move on to the other, okay? Very linear way. The other is polychronic. Relational time and involvement with people is more important, and it's more about the human transactions instead of just schedules. Definitely more collectivistic. So it comes down to, all right, I know it's time for us to leave, but now I have to say goodbye to 100 people, so it's gonna take me another half hour to leave, right? I'll tell you a story. I was invited, did I tell you about the baby shower I was invited to? So I was invited to my friend from Mexico, his wife from Guatemala. They were having a baby, and I was invited to the baby shower. And it was to start at 12. So white girl shows up at 12. Why y'all giggling?
No reason.
I know where this is going.
CBT means?
Colored people.
Okay. All right. So yeah, the mother, Jennifer didn't even show up till 1:15. I had a hard in and a hard out though, so I knew when I had to leave. So I of course, just started help setting up everything. The food hadn't been delivered yet, of course, and all the other stuff, right? Another example, my daughter went to her friend who was East Asian and they, Indian, and they were having a party at one of those like climb in the tubes and all that kind of party thing, right?
Yeah.
So and it was supposed to be at 3. We get there at 3, the family shows up at 3:20 to set up.
Oh.
So I'm like, okay. So I had another friend, family's Mexican, and she was having a wedding shower. I go, what time should a white girl show up? Be honest. She goes, oh, no, we're gonna start on time. I'm like, okay. And we did. So I always know to ask them. Because different families are influenced by different things, and just because they're seen that way doesn't mean they still continue that way. Weddings usually can be within 15 to 20 minutes type thing. Pissed me off that the rabbi wanted to start 15 minutes late for us. I'm like, no, I start everything on time. But you understand that if you're dealing with somebody who's always late, maybe it's because their cultural upbringing.
Thank you.
That's true.
Thank you.
They've also found another thing, those that tend to feel more on the ADHD side, there's this thing called time blindness.
Thank you.
That my friend has. So I know that I tell her a time and then I show up a half hour later, or, how many of you have ever adjusted a time for somebody else? When you want them there at noon, you tell them 11:30?
Oh, yeah,
Yeah.
I have.
Oh my god.
I tried that with my husband, he started figuring it out. Alright, so, looking at polychronic is quite a big, blue is monochronic. Can you see, mostly are the English speaking areas, but Japan is not, but you can kind of see. Alright, so.
I got the similar situation. Like last week, I invited my friends at around 2:30, just to be sure, just in case if they're late, I invited them for like 2:30 at my house to eat. But to be honest, I want to do it around 1. I know they're gonna be late. I know they're gonna be really, really late. So I invited them at 2:30. But here's what happened.
They showed up at 2:30?
No, they don't.
You don't show up.
They don't show up at 2:30, and they show up at around 4.
There gets, I don't know, there gets to be a certain time where it's just rude.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it's disrespectful to the person that's.
I mean, a half hour late, I'm cool with, but an hour and a half, that's,
They're Indian, so maybe they're raised that way. They're always late at everything.
eventually somebody has to be on time. Let's see what this one is all about. This is my last one. So tired of AI being forced down my throat.
Opioid addiction gets between you and what you love. Quartz Monthly Supplicant.
Don't need to hear that.
30 minutes.
Time is perceived differently across cultures. Often a culture's sense of time is so ingrained that few people consider it in a broader context until they come smack into contact with people who tick at a different speed and operate under different assumptions. People who view time in a polychronic manner may change plans frequently, consider schedules as goals instead of imperatives, and focus on relationships with people. Those who view time as linear and scheduled have a monochronic manner towards time. We tend to think of Asian countries and Latin American countries as being polychronic. France is too. South and Southeast Asia are considered polychronic, but Japan is monochronic, and China is somewhere in between, more monochronic than polychronic. US, Germany, Switzerland, Netherlands, monochronic. How does this difference in time affect us? Strong polychronic cultures may have an aversion to rigid deadlines. With colleagues and business partners from polychronic cultures, it can be a mistake to set rigid deadlines and try to enforce them. Instead, putting a comfortable margin in your scheduling and maintaining as close a relationship with your counterpart as possible is key. In highly polychronic cultures, relationships count for far more than arbitrary deadlines. Is one style better than the other? It is implied that monochronic procedures are superior to polychronic in terms of productivity. Monochronic times is easier to control and coordinate. Monochronicity is seen to be well suited to the management of large systems. Most organizations take monochronicity for granted as the only way to get things done efficiently. On the other hand, polychronic time is considered to be more effective in building relationships and in solving complex problems. It's more suitable in the developmental stages of an organization for smaller systems and for organizations where one gifted person is the central point of coordination. Do these two ever blend? Technology enables us to involve ourselves simultaneously in several tasks